Our lives are centered around money. To live a normal life, you pay for housing, you pay for food, you even have to pay for water. Nothing is free. But what would you do if out of nowhere this concept of money suddenly disappeared? Imagine a society where everyone earns the same amount and stands equally with everyone else. How would your life be different? Because that's exactly what's happening in a small commune of 88 people in the middle of nowhere, hoping to prove to themselves and the world that there's an alternative to the money-based reality we live in. This is episode 8 of our series to better understand the United States of America. Welcome to Twin Oaks, Virginia.
I'm Naomi, and I've lived here for, 5 months now.
What brought you here? What made you move here?
I traveled around to a couple different intentional communities. I liked how big this one was. I liked how egalitarian it is here. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a lot closer than a lot of other places I've found. There's no charismatic leader. Everyone has equal opportunity and access to power here and making decisions. So every week we have quota. Quota for this year is going to be set to 38 hours a week. In the past it's been 42 hours, and it was 42 hours for a very long time. But there was a lot of community support to lower that, so it's being lowered. Everyone's labor sheet looks a little different depending on if they like super scheduled work like this person does, or if they like having less scheduled work. And you kind of just write down what kind of work you want to do, and the labor assigners will assign you whatever labor that is for the week, or you can self-assign. I mostly do self-assigning. And this is how we make sure all the jobs that need to get done on the community get done. Here I can cook for an hour and a half, and then I can go pack seeds in our seeds business for an hour and a half, and then I can go do whatever for an hour and a half. I could take the whole day off if I wanted. You don't have to make quota every week. That's what I'm trying to say.
If you have a bank stored up.
Yeah, it's all rolls over. Okay. So if you make 11 hours over one week, then you can make 11 hours under the next week. And that rolls over year after year after year. So some people have thousands of hours in their labor bank. So you can take a long time off if you wanted.
Do I stand on it or just sit?
You just jump and then you sit on it.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
So one of the things that we value a lot in this community is the ability to say no. It's really easy for people to rope you into stuff.
Okay, so they're putting us to work.
Passion, be about it, all action. Wholehearted, no fraction. Read about it like a caption.
So we have a bunch of communal vehicles that we share. We have like all the vehicles we have and what times they're signed out for. And you can use the sheet to sign it out for a later day, and what kind of vehicle you need, if you need a van or a truck or just a smaller car to go into town. 88 members, not all who drive, but yeah, so we don't have our own vehicles, but we don't really need to. This is Tachai. Upstairs Tachai is a residential space, or what we call an SLG, which stands for Small Living Group. Every SLG has their own vibe. So Tachai is kind of known currently for being kind of like the frat house kind of vibe. There's some parties here. It's a hangout space. A lot of people that don't live in Tachai hang out in Tachai. These are our computers. These are all public computers. So if any time a member wants to come in here and just like play on Facebook or something, they can do that, or whatever else you want to do on a computer.
What about the most restrictive thing living here?
Probably money. You know, allowance has been dropped by like 30%. Yeah, not being able to like go take my car off wherever I want for as long as I want. And, you know, not having the same financial security that you do having a mainstream job. When you live with 80 plus people, that's going to be 88 opinions that you do have to consider when making any decision. And sometimes people have opinions that make no sense, and that make you think like, oh my god, how is this person like thinking this way? This doesn't make any sense. And then you have to realize that they are thinking the same way about you, and you have to like, you know, have some amount of willingness to give and some willingness to like not have things go your way in order to make the community stronger.
What's the most freeing thing about living this way?
Not worrying about paying rent or utilities, like dealing with car insurance, you know, like those annoying like daily or monthly or yearly like things that live in the back of your head that stress you out in the outside world. The fact that I can wake up and wear whatever I want to work, and I can decide when I work and what type of work I do, and when I wake up and when I go to bed, when I want to eat, like the fact that I don't have a boss, and the fact that I have so much agency to be involved in all of the work that I do is super freeing, especially as like a young woman, where in the mainstream, if I was working similar jobs, like I would not be in that position this early in my career.
The SLGs, or the residencies here, that's Harmony, that's Oneida, and then we're into Chai. All share this kitchen, so this is a public space. We have this fridge, which is all public food, which is usually pretty well stocked. This is the personal fridge, so people that get things that we don't typically provide at Twin Oaks, like Doritos or special fruit juices or I don't know, other random things that you want to get from the grocery store. Fancy cheeses, you can put those in the private personal fridge. And property theft is very, very low here, so as long as your name's on something, people don't really steal it. Like, people's needs are all met here, so no one really has a need to steal food, which is nice. And this is milk from our dairy cows.
When I was like 8 years old, I went to visit my cousins, American cousins, for a step family. And for fun, they would chase young black kids. It was a game. They would chase young black kids through their white neighborhood into the black neighborhood. And I remember this one day, this young black child climbed a tree and was sitting there. And the kids didn't know what to do because it was a game to them. You know, and I remember just looking up in the tree and at his eyes. And to this day, I remember that. Coming from a country where we spoke kind of differently, even though we spoke English, having an accent, but still being white, I have empathy for people who are different. I have empathy. But I also had privilege. I had white male privilege that they did not have. And I'm very conscious of that. And I'm very conscious of all these stories of growing up, of seeing poverty. I believe that, you know, if you're a Christian, you read the Bible, and it says, God gave the earth to us to have dominion over. To me, that means to do well with, to share, to make life better for every human being. Not just me, every human being. And what Twin Oaks offers is that people can choose to collectivize. They can choose to come together and live much better lives. And part of that is you have to get away from that wanting more to wanting enough. And I think the people who really do well at Twin Oaks are the people who they feel they have enough. They don't want more. They don't need more. And that is a collective change that needs to happen in the whole world because there aren't that many resources anymore. You know, they're getting scarcer and scarcer. The best way to protect your stuff is to have a well-ordered society, is to make sure people are clothed and fed and housed and have medical attention. Because when people are taken care of, there's no need for violence. Every religious and social thought goes back to don't be selfish. I learned in college, the ancient Greeks, you know, it was all about, you know, collective, you know, civic virtue. You know, to me, civic virtue is making sure the people you live with are taken care of. You know, and I just don't understand how we've lost that. And it makes me sad. And that's what I love about Twin Oaks, is that social status here is about civic virtue. It's about how you are with your fellow people, whether you're contributing to the common good, whether you are kind, whether you are empathetic, whether you listen to others, whether, you know, you see others. That's how people that's the power you have at Twin Oaks. That's your social capital.
Now that we're here and there's the backdrop, can you explain kind of
Yeah.
what happened overall?
So a couple months ago there was a fire and it burned down what we call EC or Emerald City. It housed pretty much all of our hammocks inventory and inventory for our tofu and seed racks businesses as well. So we lost like millions of dollars of inventory and materials with this.
How was the community able to recover?
It was rough for a couple days. We had to evacuate the day of.
The community all works and makes money, and then you said people have an allowance. So how did the fire impact that whole system?
Financially, it's not looking super great for Twin Oaks at the moment. I mean, we're probably going to get another business, and hopefully that goes well. This year, we just were told, starting July 1st, our allowance is getting lowered to $78 a month. There's definitely people here who are very concerned with the future of Twin Oaks and whether it will still exist in 5 years.
Do you feel like the community is pretty united just on things generally?
I mean, not really. If you ask any given person here any question, they'll give you a different answer than another person. That's like opinions about pretty much anything. Generally speaking, politically, most of us are far more leaning to the left because we are living in a commune.
What's your favorite thing about living here over the past 40 years?
On Sunday morning, there's cinnamon. What are the cinnamon things? They're cinnamon rolls. That's pretty much. Should I try again? The best thing about living here is being able to raise kids and to be in your kids' life the whole time. We homeschooled the kids. We traveled with the kids. Went to a bunch of different countries, and so. I love being in the life of my children. It's a little bit heartbreaking that they grew up, but it was really great having kids and taking care of them here.
Do you feel like here you're able to be more involved with their life growing up than you would have outside of this community?
Yeah, I mean, I have to work when I'm here, but some of the work of the community is taking care of children. The community takes taking care of children seriously. And so part of people's work credit is taking care of children. But also, we've got 500 acres here, and the kids always knew where I was. And even if I was in some meeting or something, they could come and interrupt me and say hi. And so I really they like having that access to me all the time. And I like, in any given day, spending a couple hours with the kids. One of the nice things about this community is elders are well taken care of. So I don't have to worry about money, about getting old and being decrepit and not being taken care of, because the community does a great job of taking care of elders. And so my greatest hope is that I will, as I continue my life here, that I will be happy and healthy until the end of it.
Any things that you feel like you miss out on, or do you feel like you're happy with?
I mean, there are always trade-offs in life. But I managed to travel. Like, I have managed to travel to another country about every other year. I've been to Guatemala, Costa Rica several times, Ecuador, Bolivia. So I haven't missed out on travel. I mean, if there's things I missed out on, it's like material things. Like a nice house and a nice car. And occasionally having rice and beans when I really want steak. And to me, those are pretty reasonable trade-offs. To live in a place where I am surrounded by woods, surrounded by my friends, with people I love, and where I feel cared for.
Every single member has their own room, which makes it nice because if there's a couple that breaks up, and it's like, oh no, where am I gonna live? Like, that's not an issue here. So this wing is called Apple Tree. It's a newly built wing. And this is where we have people who have like end of life care needs, or people who are in recovery for something. Recently we had a member fall off a ladder and break a hip. And so they stayed in this room for a while. So all of the hallways in here are extra wide, the doors are extra wide, the bathroom's wheelchair accessible, it's all one story. we kind of share clothes here too. So if I have some clothes that I'm done with, then I can throw it in the laundry there. Someone else gets hours to wash that laundry, hang it up, and then put it away upstairs. And then anytime I want more clothes, then I don't have to go to like the store and buy anything. I can just go upstairs and grab whatever I want for free. This is the recycling barn. We have a bunch of camping gear in there. So anytime anyone wants to go on a camping trip and they need a tent or a sleeping bag or anything, they can go in there and grab supplies. We have a lot of parties in here, which are pretty fun.
Yeah.
We do our weed trimming parties in here. We grow our own weed, which is legal in Virginia. We're allowed to have 4 plants per household, and so we have that.
How many kids do live in the community?
There's like 5 that are like under the age of 6. There's maybe 15 total, I think. We have a fair amount of children, yeah.
In cities, first of all, everything feels very like monetary. So it's usually like if you're teaching, like you're teaching for money. And yeah, I guess like to me, everything felt a little disconnected. But here it's like the person that you're cooking with is also at the dance performance. And like there's just an overlap of all the layers of your life. So everything you do feels like, I don't know, seen or recognized somehow. Yeah, I feel like I belong. And that's a great feeling.
Twin Oaks isn't just an intentional community, hippie commune where people come and stay. It's a place where people are born and where people die. You know, I think it's very important for people to go and see our graveyard. You know, we have buried children. I buried my daughter, who was born here. We buried our founder here. We buried people in between that here. People, you know, we're a village. You know, it's not just people come here and we get focused on what we're doing every day, the fun parts, and sometimes the bad parts, but we forget that this is a place where people are born and people die. And that's a very powerful thing if you really think about it. I mean, I lost my daughter. She was 18. 3 years ago, my 18-year-old daughter got in a car accident. And I cannot imagine going through that without this community. I cannot imagine going through that without the love and compassion that I got from people, even people I was in conflict with. You know, there's no joke at Twin Oaks that we're petty about the pettiest things, but when something is real, we come together. We let down our pettiness. We let down our issues with each other to come together to support when real support is needed. And I can't imagine what it would be like. I can't imagine what it was like for people in COVID not living here. I can't imagine what it was like when you're struggling, because here, when you struggle, there are people who are there for you.
Twin Oaks may not be perfect. The people here have to agree to live with less. Retirement is not always as secure, and it can be hard to live with so many people at once. But there's also something very human about this way of life. In a time when it feels like connection, community, and love are farther and farther away, Twin Oaks is notable for its ability to do more with less and to bring people together. While we're not here to give a verdict on this way of life, we believe that in such a divided time, it's more important than ever to genuinely listen to people's stories across the United States of America.